It's 14:30 on the 26th of September 2025. In the South China Sea, the carrier USS Ronald Reagan, CVN 76, cuts through tense waters. Suddenly, its radar picks up multiple tracks fast, closing, unknown. Alarms blare. Sailors sprint to stations, helmets buckled, weapons armed. Outside, the sky vibrates with jet engines as American and Chinese planes taxi for launch. Across the horizon, the Chinese carrier Liaoning, CV-16, looms, flanked by the Type 055 destroyer Nanchang and the Type 52D Xiamen. The distance between the two groups shrinks, every mile raising the chance of a fatal mistake. Flight crews stand by the catapults, waiting for a single order that could start a war. Radios crackle, commanders bark clipped commands. For hours, the standoff hangs on a knife's edge. Any sudden move could unleash fire. No missiles fly, no jets lift off, but the sea feels ready to ignite at any second. The South China Sea is not just water, it's a lifeline. Every day, tankers and box ships carry oil, chips, food, and medicine through narrow lanes that feed entire economies. For the United States, keeping these routes open means steady prices at home, credible promises to allies, and a world that can plan around rules instead of fear. That's why the USS Ronald Reagan, screened by USS Antietam and USS Shoup, patrols here. Protect navigation, deter coercion, and show it won't be pushed off course. Across the horizon, China's carrier group Liaoning with Type 055 Nanchang and Type 52D Xiamen signals a different claim. The water is theirs, the sky above it is theirs, and foreign ships move only by Beijing's leave. China's maps collide with Washington's treaty habits and sea law. Neither side wants to fire first, neither side can afford to look like it stepped back. If the US yields, insurers price risk higher. Ships reroute or wait, and smaller states read the message. American power is a rumor. If the US holds too hard, a misread radar echo could start a chain of shots no admiral can stop. Crews feel that weight with every checklist and every jet that inches toward a catapult. Sea lanes here carry a huge slice of world trade interruptions, ripple into groceries, gas, and jobs. Japan, the Philippines, and Vietnam watch from airfields and harbors. A lull in traffic means empty factory shifts. A spike in rates can sway elections. In Washington, a dent in credibility spreads beyond Asia. In Beijing, public pride ties leaders to harder moves tomorrow if they look soft today. Tension compounds with every mile closed and every radio call left unanswered. So here's the human edge. Should America stand firm or ease off? Tap 1 if holding the line protects peace. Hit 9 if stepping back avoids war. 1437, the 26th of September 2025. On board the USS Ronald Reagan, the command deck goes quiet except for the steady beep of radar. 3 new contacts appear, skimming fast and low. Possible drones, the operator calls out. Within seconds, the strike group commander gives the order. Launch interceptors. The USS Antietam, CG-54, reacts first, firing its SM-2 missiles. Brighttails cut across the gray sky, closing the gap in seconds. 1 contact disappears from the screen. The crew cheers briefly, then new tracks appear, doubling in number. The Reagan responds. Its combat air patrol scrambles. 2 FA-18 Super Hornets roar off the deck, engines shaking the ship. Their mission is clear, deter, intercept, and hold a protective bubble over the carrier. From the east, China's Liaoning does the same, launching J-15 fighters that climb fast toward the same airspace. Multiple birds airborne, the radar chief reports. The 2 swarms of jets race toward each other, the ocean below reflecting their contrails. This is no longer shadowboxing, this is direct contact. Every pilot knows, a wrong lock, a flare fired too soon, and the next second turns into history's first carrier versus carrier clash of the century. Meanwhile, the USS Shoup, DDG-86, tracks a suspicious radar ping at medium range. Its crew arms the Phalanx CIWS, ready in case something slips close. Close, in weapons green, the gunnery officer reports. Metal barrels rotate, waiting. At sea level, the American and Chinese escorts edge nearer, turning bows just enough to test nerves. Nanchang and Antietam trade pings on fire control radar just shy of the red line. The crews can feel it in their bones. They are seconds away from either a safe standoff or a shooting war. Overhead, the FA-18 and J-15 shadow each other. No missiles fired yet. Pilots call maneuvers in clipped voices, keeping their distance but staying locked in a deadly ballet. Each turn, each dive, is a dare. Who blinks first? The engagement hangs unresolved, the horizon filled with tension. Missiles are armed, fighters are circling, gunners have targets in their sights, but for now, restraint holds. The question is, how long can it last? On every bridge and cockpit, hands hover over switches, waiting for the word that decides peace or fire. 14:55, the 26th of September 2025, the standoff stretches on, but the air grows heavier with every minute. New signals emerge this time, confirmed as Chinese reconnaissance drones. They fly lower, faster, and harder to track. The USS Antietam launches another salvo, but a few slip past, pressing closer toward the Reagan's defensive screen. On deck, sailors scramble as orders shift. The Reagan turns several degrees, presenting a smaller profile and forcing attackers into narrower lanes of approach. This maneuver buys time, seconds. That means survival. The USS Shoup shifts into point defense posture, phalanx guns rotating to cover blind spots. Above, the skies twist tighter. FA-18 Super Hornets shadow the J-15 at knife range, locking radars but holding fire. Pilots fly with nerves stretched thin. One mistake means dozens of lives and two nations thrown into sudden war. On the Chinese side, Type 055 Nanchang pushes forward, daring Antietam to respond. Its radar beams slice across the American cruiser, a silent threat of missiles held in reserve. Antietam answers in kind, locking sensors but not firing. Every sailor at a console knows one twitch could send dozens of warheads into the sky. Back on the Reagan, the captain orders combat air patrol expanded. More jets roar off the deck, engines shaking steel, their afterburners streaking orange across the dusk sky. Chinese flight decks answer fresh J-15 scream into the air. The dance is no longer two planes shadowing each other. It is now formations, dozens of fighters weaving a grid above the sea. The crews on both sides are exhausted, but they do not blink. Pressure mounts, radios crackle, commanders speak in clipped bursts. The line between control and chaos has never been thinner. Fuel states tick down, checklists repeat, and coffee sits untouched on consoles as watches run long past schedule. And as one drone skims so close it paints on CIWS radar, gunners grip their triggers, waiting for the word. This is the razor's edge of modern conflict. Hold fire, or let loose and start something no one can stop. So what would you have done? Comment with 1 if America should stand firm, or hit 9 if stepping back is the safer path, then subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. 1512, the 26th of September 2025. Just as both sides hold their lines, a new threat emerges. Reagan's radar lights up with dozens of faint echoes hugging the sea surface, small, fast, and hard to track. Low flyers, bearing east, the operator warns. The twist is clear. China has launched sea-skimming drone swarms. Flying only meters above the waves, these machines vanish inside radar clutter. They are harder to hit, cheap to replace, and designed to overwhelm defenses by numbers. For the Americans, the danger is immediate. Hold off the swarm while fighters circle above. The Reagan activates electronic warfare suites, jamming signals and scrambling guidance. Shoup shifts to point defense, while Antietam reorients its missile batteries. Still, the drones press closer, their tiny signatures flickering in and out of detection. Hornet pilots call in sightings, small wakes racing across the water, machines nearly invisible until seconds away. J-15 shadow overhead, daring the U.S. to risk a shot that could spark war. On deck, sailors brace as CIWS gunners lock onto fast targets. The smell of hot metal fills the air. 30+ inbound, the fire control officer yells. Seconds stretch thin. Bridge lights dim to combat mode. Red washes over steel and faces, steady and cold. Damage control teams seal hatches, stage hoses, and rehearse the first 4 minutes after a hit. This is no longer just two carriers locked in standoff. The fight has shifted: cheap drones against billion-dollar ships, swarms against layered defenses. And everyone aboard knows, if even one breaks through, Reagan's survival may depend on a final desperate burst of fire. 1525, the 26th of September 2025. The drone swarm closes fast. Alarms echo through the Reagan steel halls. CIWS turrets spin up, barrels humming, waiting for clearance. The captain's order cuts sharp through the bridge. Engage! Antietam fires another missile wave. Explosions ripple across the horizon. 3. Then 4 drones vanish in bursts of spray and fire. Shoop joins in, close-range interceptors streaking orange light. Still, more targets push through, weaving low and fast. An E-2D Hawkeye circles high, calling vectors. Jammers flood the band. Decoys splash, splitting the swarm. On the Reagan's deck, CIWS erupts. The sound is deafening, metal tearing the air at thousands of rounds per minute. Tracers carve glowing arcs into the dusk, each a desperate barrier. A dozen drones detonate, flames rolling across the sea. Others slip through gaps, skimming low, closing fast. The ship heels with every turn. Chaff and flares burst, silver drifting in the wind. Above, FA-18 Hornets clash, with J-15 inches a high-speed dance. Pilots lock radars, pop flares, and jostle for position, yet both sides hold the trigger, unwilling to take the step that means war. A single tone in a headset could change the century. Back on the surface, one drone breaks through. It screams across the waves, seconds from impact. Gunners track, shout, and unleash a final burst. The drone explodes so close that fragments rain across the carrier's bow, rocking the ship with spray and shrapnel. For an instant, the horizon glows white. Fire teams sprint, hoses unreeled. Damage control checks, spaces for leaks and sparks. A radar repeater flickers, steadies, and holds. Silence hangs, then relief surges through the crew. The Reagan still stands, but everyone knows how close it was. A few seconds slower, and history would have written a different story. Across the line, Chinese decks go quiet as well. Engines idling, guns cooling. For now, both sides have stared over the edge and stepped back. This was the closest brush, yet one ship, one swarm, one decision from catastrophe. 1540, the 26th of September 2025. The sea calms, but both strike groups know how close they came to disaster. Smoke drifts where drones were shot down. Deck crews sweep fragments, welders patch, scorch marks, medics check, sailors rattled by shockwaves. Reagan survived, but survival is not victory. In Washington, analysts assess the clash. Each intercepted drone cost missiles worth millions. Each Chinese drone cost a fraction. The math is chilling. Cheap swarms force expensive defenses, draining resources before war even begins. In Beijing, state media calls it a test of resolve, framing the U.S. response as proof China can pressure American carriers. In allied capitals, Tokyo, Manila, Hanoi, the message reads differently. America still holds the line, but the challenge grows sharper with each encounter. For the sailors, the meaning is simpler. They saw how fragile peace is how seconds separate calm from catastrophe. They held this time, but wonder, what happens when the next wave doubles? Or when missiles fire from the shore instead of drones from the sea? Strategists warned this was no isolated clash. It was rehearsal, each side testing tactics, studying reactions, calculating the cost of the next move. Both fleets pulled back without firing on manned aircraft or ships, but neither side yielded. The balance is thinner than ever, one mistake enough to shift the Pacific. Result: the U.S. strike group remains afloat, credibility intact, but stretched by cost. China leaves emboldened, showing it can contest America close to home. The world takes note. The South China Sea is no longer backdrop, it's the front line of a new struggle. So here's the question. Did America truly win tonight, or just delay the inevitable? Comment. 1 if standing firm secures peace, or 9 if it only pushes both nations closer to war. And don't forget to subscribe because the next confrontation may already be forming beyond the horizon. It's 08, 15 inches the morning, the 18th of July 2025. In the narrow waters of the Malacca Strait, 2 American F-16s slice the humid air on routine patrol. A soft chime becomes a shriek, strange thermal spikes bloom beneath the waves. Possible submarine. A pilot calls, breath short. The ocean answers first. A silver streak tears upward. The lead Viper vanishes in a flash and a spray of metal. The wingman yanks hard left, flares screaming, altitude bleeding. Another shape breaks the surface, an unmanned underwater drone, black and fast, tossing shrapnel that chews his right wing. Smoke pours, warning lights blossom like a Christmas tree. He steadies the jet, jaw clenched, eyes wet with heat and fear. Far below, something big is moving and listening. Alarms multiply, radios stack with overlapping voices. Somewhere to the east, ships change course. To the west, a shadowed shoreline drifts past, indifferent. This was supposed to be quiet water. Instead, the morning is turned into a trap, and the trap is closing. The Malacca Strait is one of the world's busiest waterways. Each day, tankers and container ships squeeze through a narrow lane that links the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Fuel, food, and microchips ride these hulls, feeding jobs and daily life from California to Japan. A slowdown here does not stay local. It hits prices, shelves, and trust. The strait narrows to a few miles, forcing traffic into tight, predictable lanes. This morning, a small American patrol was tasked to keep that lane open. 2 F-16 out of Singapore scanned for trouble and cued larger forces. Below them, a U.S. Sound guided missile submarine waited in silence, while strike aircraft stood alert at Guam and Diego Garcia. Across the strait, Chinese boats hunted low and slow. A nuclear-powered Shang-2 carried long-range cruise missiles. A quieter Yuan-class used air-independent power, modern torpedoes, and small scout drones meant to draw defenders into bad shots. Together, they built a layered ambush. Both capitals understood the message at stake. For Beijing, pushing U.S. patrols back from Malacca would prove that China sets the rules close to home. For Washington, losing freedom to operate would shake allies and invite more tests elsewhere. So the response came fast. EA-18 grams growlers to blind radars and jam links, F-35 amperes to find and strike, and USS Michigan loading coordinates for Tomahawk launches. A B-2 heavy bomber waited to hit hardened nodes. An MQ-9 watched the sea surface for wake and periscope clues. Each move buys time and denies surprise. A single hit on a tanker here can spike insurance and halt convoys. Who holds the edge in this choke point duel, U.S. stealth and missiles, or China's silent hunters? Tap 1 if you think America keeps the sea open, or 9 if the submarines flip the fight, and subscribe to follow the next move. 8:37. The fight surges. From Anderson on Guam and EA-18 grams, Growler knifes west, built to jam, confuse, and blind. Noise floods the battle space. Enemy data links stutter. Search radars stare into static. Jamming buys seconds, and seconds keep people alive. F-35. As rise from Singapore, clean and quiet, weapons checked, radios tight. Stealth delays detection long enough to choose the terms of the fight. 8:45. Beneath the chop, USS Michigan slides into a silent firing box east of the strait. The Ohio-class SSGN carries over 150 Tomahawks, enough massed fire to bend a campaign. Watchstanders fuse tracks from satellites, MQ-9 feeds, and patrol aircraft. The standing order is simple: hold fire until hostile subs commit. 8:57. The first American punch lands. A pair of F-35 catches the Shang-2 edging toward launch depth. 2 Joint Strike missiles skim low, hop the waves, and strike like hammers. Steel buckles, compartments flood, and the nuclear boat dies in minutes. One of China's sharpest hunters is gone. 9:15. Far inland, A B-2 Spirit Street Elf bomber releases a GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator into a hardened node guiding unmanned undersea vehicles. The blast drills deep and silences control. Knocking out the brain weakens the swarm. 9:20. USS Michigan launches 2 Tomahawk Block 5 at the Yuan class as it tries to reset the ambush. One warhead tears open starboard. The other kills pumps and power. Flooding spreads fast. The crew fights to contain damage, ejects decoys, and limps south trailing oil. The trap is broken, but the sea still hides knives. 9:30. A Chinese J-15 claws up to challenge. An F-35 fires an AIM-120D AMRAAM, guided by a web of sensors painting the sky. The missile slams home. Fragments rain into gray water. In under an hour, the board tilts. 1 submarine destroyed, 1 crippled, 1 fighter down. American jets hold the air, and American missiles hold the initiative. Yet the strait is still crowded with echoes. New contacts flare, fade, and return. A buoy chirps once, then goes dark. Every transmission risks exposure, and both sides measure each word. The opening punches have landed. The next exchange will be closer, faster, and meaner. Here, survival depends on seconds and discipline under pressure. Several minutes after the first strikes, the fight refuses to cool. Chinese commanders order a second wave. It is mixed fast drones on the surface, torpedoes creeping below, and fighters circling overhead to bait the Americans into revealing positions. On board USS Michigan, tension thickens. The crew watches sonar traces split, merge, then vanish. It is a classic tactic. Overload the picture, make defenders guess wrong. The Growler throws fresh jamming, static drowning enemy signals, but clutter builds on US screens too. F-35. As patrol at altitude, each pilot scanning for sudden spikes of heat. One dives to chase a contact, only to find a decoy drone skimming waves. Wasted missile, wasted time. Seconds later, another blip flashes closer, this one real. The stealth pilot looses a strike, and the target vanishes beneath white foam. Below, the Yuan-class submarine, though damaged, lashes back. It spits a spread of torpedoes before retreating south. The weapons streak forward, homing on the Growler's escort. Countermeasures, fire bubbles, and flares in the water to drag them wide. One torpedo detonates harmlessly, shaking the sea but hitting nothing. 9:45. The battle compresses. A second J-15 pair races in, pushing hard to challenge American stealth. Their goal is not victory in the sky, but distraction, drawing attention while drones and torpedoes sneak closer. An F-35 climbs to engage, missile rails emptying, tracers burning the horizon. One Chinese jet drops, the other retreats low. On Michigan, sailors pivot to last-ditch defenses. The submarine angles slightly, cutting its noise profile, reducing the chance of being fixed. Every helm order feels like threading a needle in darkness. "Steady," the captain repeats, voice calm but tight. The strait itself turns hostile. Merchant ships scatter, radios chatter, echoes bounce off hulls. Friend and foe blur. For the Americans, every false target means one less missile for the real threat. For China, every lost drone is cheap, but every American launch costs millions. Both sides push, neither yielding. Control of Malacca now hangs on endurance. Who can hold longer? Who can bleed less? That's the question for you too. Tap 1 if you think US forces keep the upper hand. Or 9 if China's second wave can still turn the fight. And make sure you subscribe, because the clash is only tightening. Then the twist arrives. Alarms spike again, new tracks, smaller and faster, skimming the surface like shadows. These are unmanned boats, packed with explosives, racing low where radar sees poorly and missiles struggle to lock. They spread wide, weaving unpredictable paths. For the Americans, it is a sudden nightmare. F-35 cannot waste expensive missiles on every boat. The Growler's jamming is near useless. These craft do not depend on data links. USS Michigan and its escorts must react with raw reflex. On Michigan, sailors load short-range interceptors and prep decoys. The captain orders, hold steady, engage on closing. The submarine itself cannot surface guns, but Allied ships nearby shift to cover. Deck weapons spit rounds, churning water into spray. Several boats vanish in fireballs, but more surge past. One skimmer darts dangerously close, forcing an F-35 to dive low and strafe with its cannon. The burst rips the boat apart, but the jet now glows hot on enemy sensors. Every choice carries risk: save the fleet and expose the stealth edge. Meanwhile, the battered Yuan-class submarine tries one last trick. It deploys unmanned undersea drones, each carrying noisemakers to mask the approach of the explosive boats. Screens clutter again, alarms overlap, sailors fight to separate real from fake. Seconds matter, hesitation is deadly. The fight narrows to bare instinct. Gunners track wakes, pilots snap to calls. The Growler scrambles fresh jamming patterns, even if only to buy distraction. Every second feels stretched thin. This is not the duel both sides trained for. It is messy, chaotic, and close to the skin. And it forces one truth: the side that adapts faster wins. The last wave closes in. Surface drones and torpedoes converge from different angles, forcing split-second calls. USS Michigan cannot run. It must fight where it stands. F-35 sweep low, firing bursts at skimming boats. Explosions tear across the water, spray rising like walls. One jet loops wide, drops a glide bomb, and clears a path. But ammo counts fall fast, and more tracks appear. Above, a J-15 pair dives through jamming haze, aiming at the Growler. American stealth answers and F-35 fires first. The AMRAAM finds its mark, turning one jet into fire. The other flees, mission broken. 9:58. The Yuan-class submarine makes its final gamble. It launches a torpedo spread at Michigan's position. Sonar screams, countermeasures deploy. Two torpedoes veer off, fooled by noise. One keeps coming. The captain orders a hard turn. The sub groans under strain, water rushing loud against plates. Seconds stretch, then a thunderous blast close, but wide. The crew steadies, sweat dripping, hearts pounding. Above the waves, escorts fire close-in weapons at drones slipping past. Guns, thunder, tracers carve red lines. One boat detonates near, drenching the deck, knocking sailors down but sparing the ship. 10-5. The horizon begins to clear. Fewer tracks, weaker signals. A last drone charges, engine screaming. An F-35 rolls in with empty racks, switching to cannon. The burst rips it apart, debris raining into foam. Silence follows, broken only by static and heavy breathing. The Growler eases power. Pilots call out low missile counts. Michigan trims speed, listening for one more ping. Nothing answers. Fuel is low, nerves are raw, but discipline holds and checklists keep hands steady. Radios hiss, boots thump, damage reports trickle in. Scorched paint, strained mounts, rattled nerves, but the strait stays open. Tankers resume lanes, slow but steady. The Americans hold ground they cannot lose, and the message carries far beyond these waters. The climax is past. Both sides threw everything at Malacca, and the Americans still hold the line. Who proved tougher here, US defenses under pressure or China's relentless swarm? Drop a 1 or 9 inches in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. Result: one nuclear submarine destroyed, another crippled and retreating, multiple drones lost, and J-15 fighters shot down. The US force, bruised but intact, holds the choke point. For America, the message is clear. Layered defenses can work even under saturation. Stealth jets, missile subs, and electronic jammers combine to blunt China's ambush. But the cost is real. Each drone costs thousands, each US missile millions. The math favors the attacker, and planners know it. For China, the clash is not a total defeat. Their drones reached close, their submarines struck first, and they forced America to burn through precious stockpiles. In Beijing, this can be spun as proof that US dominance is not absolute. Pressure will come again. Allies watched every moment. Singapore, Japan, Australia, even far-off Europe see that Washington can still hold the line when tested. but they also see how thin that line island. A single bad call or late intercept could have changed the story. Insurance premiums on ships will climb. Tankers may choose longer routes. Nerves in capitals will tighten. On the decks and in the cockpits, crews breathe out slowly. They survived, but survival came by inches. The strait is open tonight because men and women made the right calls under crushing stress. Tomorrow may be harder. The lesson is stark. Technology matters, but endurance and discipline decide who stays in the fight. Cheap swarms force expensive defenses. Every missile fired drains magazines needed elsewhere. Every strike today shapes the balance tomorrow. So what happens when the next wave doubles in size or adds shore-based missiles to the swarm? That question hangs over commanders planning the next patrol. The Malacca Strait remains open, but no one believes the test is finished. And now it's your turn. After seeing how close both sides push this battle, do you think America's defense still guarantees control, or is China grinding down the edge? Drop a 1 or 9 inches in the comments and subscribe so you don't miss the next clash.